Okay, so let's dive into principle number 4, respect your values, principles, and priorities. So, as you learn to intuitively think about your money, you are rejecting a scarcity mindset, you're honoring your true desires, you're making peace with money. It can be really tempting at this point to fall into I do what I want mode, right? This is about intuitively looking at money through a holistic lens. And that means making sure that you're considering all aspects of what has to happen with your money, both needs and wants, right? Now, also remember from principle number 3 that money is just a tool, which still means that there are more efficient and effective ways to use it, right? You could use a hammer and a screwdriver to split a piece of wood, but wouldn't an axe be more efficient? Right? There are still more efficient and effective ways to use it. And that's where this comes in. Learning to respect your values, principles, and priorities is the first way to ensure that you are using your financial tool in the best, most efficient way for you. So, how do we define the difference between values, principles, and priorities? So, values are belief systems. They're often shaped by our past experiences, and they're typically deeply held beliefs. They very rarely change. And since they're based in beliefs and not fleeting thoughts or circumstances, they tend to be pretty solid. Now, of course, things could happen in your world that change your deeply held beliefs, and therefore your values may change a little bit, but typically they're not going to change. How you feel about various ideas related to money will shape your principles and priorities, and therefore your behaviors. So the values are at the core. So an example that I use for us is I deeply value being debt free. I deeply value being debt free. I believe it brings freedom. I believe that it frees you up from, owing money to other people and then therefore not having control over your own finances. So this is a personal, deeply held belief of mine, and therefore one of our values is we value being debt free. Okay. Now, like I said, that leads into our principles and priorities. So what are our principles? Your principles are the objective, practical application of your values. This is how you live it out. This is how you implement your values. Now, the principles can change with seasons of life, with new information, but they still don't change drastically because they're based on your values, which don't change, right? Which very, very, very rarely change. So the example for us with the value that I hold of being debt free is we don't use debt as a crutch for things that are wants. We don't use debt as a crutch for things that are wants. Now, I will tell you, this principle for us used to be we never use debt. And then it was we never use debt except for our mortgage, right? But with new information and new seasons of life, we decided that that we felt good using debt for needs and investments. But because we value being debt free, we still cash flow as much as possible. So we want like our backyard done. We want like a deck in our backyard, and it's going to cost like $30,000, and we do not have $30,000 in cash that can be allocated specifically for the deck, and therefore we're not doing it right now. And that's the thing. Our value is we value being debt free, and therefore, on principle, we do not use debt as a crutch for things that are wants. It's just a want. It will not raise the value of our home, the value of the deck. It won't do it. We've talked to a realtor. It's not an investment, right? So that's something that we have stuck by that is the objective practical application of that value. Now, what are our priorities? Where does that come in? Priorities means you determine what is more important compared to something else, right? Priorities can change with circumstances and seasons. They can. They change a lot. My priority right now is different than what my priority will be in an hour. My priorities generally for my life tend not to change because those are a little bit more founded in my values. But in real time, your priorities change. And specifically, they change based on context. So just because fundamentally feeding my kids is more important than getting my nails done doesn't mean I never get my nails done. But it does mean that if doing so means I can't feed my kids, This is where respecting your priorities comes into play, right? This is what I'm saying. When you lean into this feeling of, I'll do what I want, you run the risk of letting your priorities go by the wayside, right? So we still, even though we're rejecting scarcity, honoring our true desires, making peace with money, we are still respecting our values, principles, and priorities. So the example for us, it's a priority that we save the cash for the things we want. And when we list out all the things we want, we put them in priority order so that as we save up cash flow for those things, the things we want more get saved for first, right? Values, principles, and priorities. So this is principle number 4. And this is just the beginning of you learning how to use your tool the most efficient and effective way for your life. All right. I will see you guys in principle number 5.